And joining us is Michael Kriozere, who is the developer of One Rincon Hill. He's led the development of over 45 units, residential units around the country, many of them receiving awards for both design and concept. And welcome.
Thank you.
And congratulations.
Thank you.
You must be very proud of it. It's a dynamic experience. We were able to tour it. We went to the 68th floor and saw also some of the features, the engineering features that are still visible.
Right.
Did you know, or did you believe you could build this knowing all that you knew about San Francisco and the politics of planning here? What were the chances you gave it to be actually built?
Well, having gone through it, I was kind of familiar with the process. It wasn't new to me, and there weren't a lot of surprises. I kind of knew what to expect, and I felt that we would get the thing through and we would get it done. I might be in a nursing home by the time we did it, but somehow...
You could watch it on the program like this?
That's right, I could watch it.
But I mean, here you were not just... You built the largest residential tower west of the Mississippi, and there are a lot of cities between the Mississippi and here, including Los Angeles, in a neighborhood that didn't exist. Taking down a tower that everybody had gotten used to, you really felt that you knew you were going to be able to build it. It wasn't going to be a 50-50 probability.
No, I didn't think it would be. The people at the planning department of San Francisco, I had long discussions with them before starting this. It didn't just come out of the blue. And they were very, very professional and very enlightened. Dean Macris was terrific. Larry Badner was terrific. David Allenbaugh. So we had a lot of discussions about this and went through the concept of what we were going to do there before we really spent a ton of money. They were very cooperative and I thought very creative and enlightened. The tough part, we all knew, was when we got out of planning and got into the political process. That was the unknown.
Okay, let's go there. Now, you started in 2005, right? Or it began around 2005 or earlier?
Yeah, by 2005, 2004, 2005, right.
So when did it hit the political currents?
Well, we went through the planning process, and that's always interesting because these are creative people in the plan department, and our architects are creative people. And I enjoy that phase of the business a lot, the creative side of it, as opposed to the financial. My background is in design. So that was a good time, but we were all anticipating what was going to happen when we moved out of planning and finally got into the Rincon Hill zoning process over at City Hall. And there was some trepidation about that. I figured that we eventually would get through it, but timing is important, and it was a question of how long it was going to take. And
were you handling the negotiations personally?
Myself with Steve Vettel, my attorney, who did a terrific job.
But you were hands-on on the political process.
Oh yes, oh yes.
Who were some of the politicians? Well, you know, I have publicly credited Mr. Daley for being one of the few deal makers left in San Francisco, the tradition of Willie Brown and so on. In other words, let's see if we can find a place where everybody wins.
Yeah.
And, you know, you don't have to make any comment if you want, but I admire that part of him. And I think most people have given him credit for helping make that project work politically.
Yeah. I found him different than his reputation. I kind of go along with what you're saying. He had a certain reputation that I was aware of before I had talks with him, but I found him the way you're describing, that he knows how to make a deal, and he's not as much as an ideologue as people think when it comes right down to getting something done, and he can see the benefits to the people in the area and to the city, and ultimately he's a practical guy when it comes down to it.
The $20 million that you're giving to the Affordable Housing Fund, that's probably going to be leveraged to about 200 affordable units.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so there was a win-win situation there.
Oh, sure. The city gets a lot of affordable housing units.
Because they can leverage it with HUD money, government money, and so on.
But also the revenues coming from this building are enormous. The real estate taxes on the property before we started maybe we're $90,000 a year. When we're finished, they're going to be 1% of about $420 million a year, and that's every year.
From all the owners.
From all the owners. And the real estate taxes are tremendous. And acting as a catalyst to the area is extremely important.
And because it's obvious you knew about San Francisco, you knew what this was going to do to the city.
Yes.
And it's already happening. And that just not only in Rincon Hill, but I think it's become. I mean, you've changed the skyline to begin with. Now they have to deal with that tower in their designs for all the other buildings.
That was taken into account of before we started. That was part of the process with the planning department. It was kind of interesting. They were going to rezone the entire Rincon Hill area, 12-block area. And they knew that they were going to have towers about 400 feet tall down the hill, at the foot of the hill. San Francisco, being a city of hills, that's their tradition, have always emphasized the hills in the city, like Russian Hill, Telegraph Hill, and so forth. If they kept the buildings on top of Rincon Hill at 200 or 300 feet, it would tend to level out the skyline with a 400-foot building down the hill. So it would make the hill disappear. So they knew they had to emphasize the top of the hill with a much taller building if they're going to be 400 feet at the bottom of the building. So we went through that whole talk and the whole process, and they asked me if they didn't want to go ahead and ask for a building this tall unless I wanted to do it. And of course I was very eager to do it and very happy they saw it that way.
Do you feel other developers felt more comfortable with their plans for the area and around the area because you were able to maneuver through the political, maneuver through the planning, and prove that it could be done? Do you think other developers were influenced?
Yes, for sure. The Rincon Hill area, when it was rezoned, allowed for a number of high-rises, but not a lot. There may be 4 or 5 that are going to go in there. So it's not going to be a wall of high-rises. It's going to be more of a tapestry, which is nice in a city where you get mid-rise, low-rise, high-rise, and it becomes interesting. It isn't all one thing. And so there are several other sites that are zoned for high-rise, and the Rincon Hill area is going to be close to the financial district where you can walk right into it, and there's going to be a lot of people living there that won't have to take their cars out, and they're going to shop and eat and use all the amenities of downtown.
You have a background in design, I suppose,
Yes.
and here's the thing I'm always wondering about, like on King Street, they've created that whole strip of condominiums. There's some retail on the bottom floor.
Right.
How long does it take for a neighborhood to be created? This was in the San Francisco Magazine. People are asking that. You can't do that. The developer can't do that.
Right.
What do you, with that many people living that close together, how long will it take before it becomes a neighborhood?
Yes. The retail people will follow the housing people. Obviously, the retail people are smart, and they're not going to go anywhere where people aren't living. But people will move into places to live before there's retail because they can always get in their car or on transportation to find the retail initially. But the retail people are very smart, and as soon as they see several thousand people living in an area, they're quick to follow with infill in the retail services and restaurants and things that really make a neighborhood.
Yeah, the neighborhood character, which is so unique in San Francisco. Do you think Rincon Hill will have a particular character?
I do.
A lot of the people that are buying your condominiums are don't necessarily spend a lot of time here, or maybe I'm wrong. You know the marketing bracket.
They're basically San Francisco people, believe it
that
or
are
not.
buying the condominiums.
Yes, they're Bay Area people.
You know how it's portrayed in San Francisco Magazine and elsewhere that these are people flying in from Hong Kong for 2 weeks and they can afford to do it.
Absolutely wrong.
San Franciscans?
Yes, absolutely. Now, when we did our studies initially, we thought there would be people with second homes that were doing business in San Francisco, coming from Asia, coming from around the country. But we found that 95% of them are Bay Area people.
So we will have a true neighborhood because they are going to be living there.
They're going to be living there. That's right. These are not necessarily second homes at all.
That's a stunner because I still think that there was just an article in the Chronicle, and that myth is still being perpetuated.
There is a market for that, for sure.
Sure there is.
For sure. But it isn't as large as the indigenous market. I thought it would be more second homes, more pied-à-terres than it was. As it turned out, it was the other way around. There are some of those for sure, but most of these people are San Francisco Bay residents right now.
I have to ask, because you have a vested interest, in the turmoil in the markets right now, and it's significant in terms of credit and loans. You're fortunate you have your building built. Do you think it's going to have an impact on all the other developers who have these units online or plan to start construction?
Well, when we talk about the housing market, that's a very broad term. It's like saying the stock market.
Agreed.
A high-rise in downtown San Francisco is not the same segment as a suburban home in Houston, for example.
Granted.
That's right. So the entire housing market is affected, but each sector is affected differently. Just like the stock market. When the market's going down, there are some stocks that are doing well, and vice versa. Downtown San Francisco is unique. People like living in an urban area. Those things are doing well, where the overall market is correcting right now. That is the general housing market across the country, which includes single-family homes mostly, and other kinds of cities. But in downtown San Francisco, the supply never quite catches up to the demand, and these things take several years to come to fruition.
I've heard one developer say, "Well, we just will catch the next cycle because it will turn."
Yeah.
Because it takes that long to get anything through San Francisco.
Well, I try not to worry about the cycles. These things take 2 to 4 years to do, and I can't predict over 2 or 4 years when the next wave is going to be up or down. So I try to do these developments in the kind of location with the kind of design that's sort of impervious to what kind of market there's going to be. I hope these projects that I like to do will do well in a down market and terrific in an up market. So it's doing very well now, even in a down market.
Are you going to build your second tower?
We're going to start at the end of the year.
Okay, that's
bold.
Break
ground.
Yeah. If this is an amazing achievement. Is there something else you want to build that is, the next great, like this one is the largest residential tower west of the Mississippi?
Well, I love cities. I'm an urban developer. I don't have a great feel or affinity for suburban or horizontal development. I love vertical development. I love inner cities. I love the core. San Francisco's a terrific city. I live in La Jolla, but that's just a kind of a beach. San Francisco is a real city. And I've got my eye on a couple other things in San Francisco.
I think you're going to have to keep it. You keep it to yourself. Then.
Right.
I want to congratulate you. Thank you for your crew allowing us to come and see it.
Yep.
Michael Kriozere, thank you for being with us.